Hello there, this is Philip Shaw speaking from Dresden, Ontario, Canada, and I'm here with Dr. Enamal Haq from Dhaka, Bangladesh for another episode of our monthly, supposed to be monthly, East-West conversation about global issues. And it's good to be back, and I just wanted to say hello to everybody out there. And I've got one particular topic that I've kind of wanted to chat about for a long time. And actually, it's something that Dr. Haq and I have really, over a period of knowing each other 40 some years, really don't talk to each other much about. But it's about religion and our different beliefs along those ways. You know, it's interesting when we go back 40 years ago when we were in school together. Enamel would come to my home in Dresden, Ontario, Canada, which is a small rural community in southwestern Ontario. And at that time, I would go to church every week. On Sunday, we go to church to worship. I'm a Christian, but frankly, I never really thought of anything else because I hardly knew anybody else of any different religion. That's just what we did. I still go to church every Sunday as much as I can. Church has changed here because now you can go to church online. It's on YouTube live. You could do that instead of going to a physical church. But anyway, Enamel came to church with me all the time, and I think he found it all mildly interesting. But still, at that time, we didn't really chat about it. Sometimes our feelings were I think that's interesting, and we occasionally would ask each other about our faith because Dr. Haq is a Muslim from Bangladesh, and I was a Christian from small town Canada. But over a period of years, you know, religion, Christianity, Islam, it's all evolved. You know, we've had all kinds of things happen with it. And if you think really hard, you know, there's a lot of similarities with regard. That's what Enamel always used to say. I remember he used to tell the Christian minister walking out of church, yeah, it's very similar to my faith, which was Islam. And I'm certain, I'm certain at that time, probably the Christian minister, well, what does he mean? That what does he really mean? But the point being, the point I'm trying to get at is over a period of 40 years, what we've had with regard to each other's faith is mutual respect.
Yeah.
And like for instance, just over that period of time, like believe it or not, probably 40 years ago, I didn't really respect any other religions because I didn't know any other, didn't know anybody of any other faith. But of course, now I know many people of lots of faith. And of course, Enamel is of the Muslim faith, and I've got to know him and his family. I've been to Eid, I think a couple times. I went to in Sylhet, I went to the Eid congregation that we had there. Just over a period of time, like we've had a mutual respect for our different religion, even though we don't chat about it very much. So what that has evolved for me over time is that I have respect for all religions now, partly because that I've just learned and been got to know a friend of a different religion to a great extent. And so, but the problem is that not necessarily everybody thinks the way that we do about religion. Religion can cause a lot of problems in society with regard to people having different opinions, whether that's in Bangladesh or yes, it even happens in Canada too, and places in the United States where people of different religions, through ignorance, I would largely argue, cause problems that actually on a global level, sometimes wars are fought over. You know, and you know, anytime I've been in Bangladesh, I have the deepest respect for a lot of my Muslim brother on the street or Hindu brother, whoever they might be, when they go to on Friday when they go to pray, because I have a respect for what they believe and what they're doing. And you know, we're not going to change that overnight, but you know, we're becoming more of a secular society here in Canada now, and maybe the whole world is, I don't know. But just religion as a whole is something that has evolved through two of us, I think, over a period of 40 years, this mutual respect we've always had for everybody else's religious belief. And it's a very, very good thing. Of course, when you don't respect other religions, that's where you have all kinds of problems, like where my ancestors had problems in Northern Ireland, in Ontario years ago, and of course in Bangladesh, where there's those types of problems all the time. So I think you know what I'm getting at it now. Well, I'll just throw it over to you, and you can continue on your feelings about how it evolved and some of the problems it may cause you and your society, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. I think this is a very interesting topic. Good that you brought it. Because when we met, I think you were the first Christian probably I met. And when you said that I went to your church, I think when every Sunday I still remember that we went to the church. I talked to the ministers, and some of the the script that were read out, particularly hymns that were, many of the stories are very similar to what
Yeah.
I have read in Quran, and it's basically because of the Semitic religion. But at the same time, when you live in Bangladesh, you encounter people of Hindu faith. I still remember one of my closest friend when I was in class 5, grade 5, and my closest friend was the next door neighbor, and he was a Hindu family, and we were very good friend. They used to have. Unlike many other countries, probably you surprising in Hindu family, you have a what they call prayer rooms separate, and the deities are all there. So I still remember going to their house, and they would normally not allow any non-Hindu to enter into that room, which we never crossed. But we were very good friends. We ate at each other's house as long as we respect that Hindu they do not eat beef, and we respected that. So the society in Bangladesh, in particular, while I grew up in Sylhet, which has a lot of significant large number of Hindu population. Not only that, I had a very good friend of Manipuri friend who was also a Hindu, but he is from of a local Manipur tribe from the Indian Manipur tribe, but they are living in Bangladesh, and we grew up together. He was also a very good friend, still a good friend of mine. I had, that I was involved in SANDI, and SANDI is the South
Yeah.
Asian Network for Environmental and Development Economics, where I now meet regularly Buddhist friends from Nepal, Hindu friend from India, even Muslim friend from Pakistan. What I do see in all of them, including we met each other, that people, in terms of their faith, they're very respectful to each other. The problem started when you take the faith as a ritual and you start to hate each other. I think that is something not supposed to happen. Every religion is developed, or at least the way it has been preached, is to promote peace, promotes harmony in the society. That's what I have always seen. It has nothing to do with animosity, with war. Unfortunately, as we see around the world, it has created wars. When I
Yes.
look at our local communities, there are only, even within Muslims, there are groups, sects, different groups of Muslim faith, and you all know about Shiite and Sunni
Yes.
faith,
Yes.
but there are
Yes.
more than that. We used to say that there are 70 different sects in Muslims. I'm pretty sure I remember when I went to and you also, in your case, I've seen churches, different
Yeah.
groups of people go to different
That's right.
churches.
That's right.
But it should not have created any animosity or any war. Unfortunately, as again, I think the more you people see each other, your faith becomes stronger. You start to respect that people with faith are good people. I think that's a
Yeah.
very important part that we should recognize. People with faith, but without understanding the meaning of it, they take faith as a ritual rather than as a faith by itself. And I think a lot of time that is the biggest trouble in our society. I see that way mostly. Because those who are I've seen one of my good friend is very highly religious. There are people within my family highly religious compared to me.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes.
I have worked with the Professor Shamsar Ali, who just passed away 2 weeks ago. He was a great philosopher, as a nuclear scientist, and he was a religious speaker. And
Yes.
I've worked with him. There was nothing that we could differ in terms of our work. In terms of respect, I think I was among the few people who rushed to his house when I understood. My wife called me, and and said that he died. So I immediately rushed to his house to see his son. I mean that my feeling is that people are taking religion, not that seriously in terms of its faiths and its values, rather than in its ritual. And that is probably one of the fundamental reasons for all the conflicts. So I think at one point of time, human civilization should study religion. Every individual should meet another faith person. And as you see more of the other faith person, you start to respect each other.
Yeah,
Even
like
within Bangladesh, I was telling you that my mother was sick and we went to the hospital. The hospital is run by a Muslim, not a political party, but people strongly Muslim group. But majority of their staff were also Hindu. So there was no differences among, and my mother was there. I didn't see any differences in their behavior, whether you were a Muslim or a Hindu. But unfortunately, the society is changing, and I don't know why it is changing. My question is when I grew up, I did not have this kind of a strong anti-religious and other religious feeling. But we see it today in the world, and I think
yeah,
that is probably our failure as a human, civilization. We are running a civilization. We are looking at it, and as a human being, we should recognize that that's our collective failure, not to educate each other on each, so that we respect each other.
yeah, that's right. And like, however, it's been an evolution for me. Like what you just said, I think is wonderful. However, when you first met me, I really didn't understand that. I didn't know anybody of any other faith. And I remember one time I was telling you about somebody, and they were Christian, but of course we have multiple denominations of Christianity, and a lot of them get very upset at each other. and,
Mm,
and I said to you, I said, well, this might be a problem about this particular individual. And you looked at me and you said, Phil, you're all the same. You're all Christians. You
mm,
don't get upset about this. You're all one. And anyway, over a period of time, frankly, even though I was doing a master's degree at the time, that kind of stuff was hard for me to get around on. You know, when you sit in a small rural church and all you listen to is what you hear, that's all you know. And so being exposed to people of different cultures and different religions really, really helped me. And over a period of time, of course, I've always thought that I talk to Christian leaders here from time to time, not often, but I say, we should embrace other faiths, like our Muslim brothers and our Hindu brothers and our Sikh brothers and whoever, and because we're stronger when we mutually respect each other and mutually respect our faiths.
I think that's
And
what the failure of the religious education, because they don't want to meet each other. I remember when we had a university called Atish Dipankar University, and Atish Dipankar was a Buddhist scholar in Bangladesh. Born in Bangladesh, he went to Tibet, as far as in China and Tibet, and spread Buddhism. So we had a university in his name. And when I was establishing the curriculum, I said one course that I want to introduce, which is a world religion. I wanted to tell the student that they should know the world religion. I still remember I went to, very interesting, went to Mongolia, and they were Buddhist. And I was looking at it. I went to one of the museum, and they were using Sri as a word, and Sri according to Sri according to their word was respectful. And I said, well, that's exactly the Bangla word, and I could recognize the value of preaching from different countries. So my feeling is that a lot of people live in their own corner, in their own shell, and never know anybody in the world, and so they somehow feel like this. The other religion people are all so bad that and that's what happened. I still remember another event that I thought that we shared, which is Jehovah's Witness group. If you remember, the
yeah,
Christian group, they came to my room when I was in Canada several times,
okay.
And
Okay.
I talk to them, and the more I talk to them, the more they talk to me. They don't find any difference between my faith and their faith. I said, whatever you are saying is the same what I am saying. So I think this kind of exchange is one of the fundamental requirement for making a better society.
It is. Unfortunately, it's hard getting there. And even like when I think about the divisions within the Christian community in North America here, oh my goodness, it's crazy,
Mhm.
and it's a big business here too, right? And so my journey has been one where I've evolved to this, and you were part of that. You were definitely part of that because I didn't know any Muslim people, and of course now I have great Muslim friends. Feel completely at home when I come to Bangladesh and visit with my Muslim friends. I remember very clearly. This was a long time ago now, 25 years ago. We went to the congregation in Sylhet at Eid time,
Yes.
and I'm walking back after the congregation. And I'm walking back, and I'm probably the only Christian person within miles, and there's other people beside me. And there was a man and his son walking beside me, and they were dressed in their traditional Eid clothing, walking back from congregation. And I just turned to him like this, and I said, "Assalamu alaikum." And they looked back at me, and they just burst out laughing. But the problem was the reason they were laughing was because they didn't expect that, right?
Exactly.
But we were one people. We were different religions, but we had a mutual respect for each other. And,
I
and
think,
I know we're talking a little bit in utopian terms here, because this is our evolution, maybe not yours. It certainly was mine. And I wish other people could get there, but as you say, there's a lot of friction along the way still, and that's why we have some of the terrible problems that we have with regard to using religion as something else than what it should be.
yes, and I think the more you see each other in terms of different religious group, you realize humanity is actually
Yeah.
one thing. It's actually nothing more than humanity. Every religions wanted to preach greatness of human being, nothing more than that. And they actually wanted to bring peace and prosperity in a society. Unfortunately, as we start living within the shell of our own faith and we don't want to look at each other, we created all this kind of animosity. And again, when I say faith, I'm not saying only Hindu and Muslim and Christianity. Even within Muslim group, just like within Christianity, there are so many factions, so many groups, and for small flimsy reason they fight with each other. I think we
That's
should
right.
all rise up and become human.
I would like that. It's certainly been an evolution for me. I don't know of all of the topics we could talk about with hard economics and all this policy stuff, but this is one I wanted to talk about for a long time. But I hope that we could all get there. If you're not there, it'd be nice if you got there. It's something for you to think about as we move ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.